Somebody's asking, how many children are generally put on pencil at a time for a job, for let's say a commercial? Bearing in mind that sometimes they will be put on pencil and they will be asked to get a license, because it's not the casting director who has decided to only leave 2 days to get a license. It's the way that the production has been designed and who's available. There's a lot of things that make it what it is. And then sometimes parents must think, why on earth have they only left, you know, a week to get the license? Because obviously some people can only get a license in 7 days, some people 14, some people 3. So it is a bit of a lottery, isn't it, for that reason? So people are asking, how many people generally get put on pencil? Thomas, answer that.
I mean, different jobs, pencil, different amount of people, I suppose. I guess with kids, and again, the younger they are, the more backup options you want to have. You know, another conversation is about backups on set at home, whether you require backups or not. Some kids have done more experience, don't want to be backup. But penciling, you know, like I like to think that people walk away and have a favorite and maybe 2 backups. It might be between director, producer, client, agency, etc., that there's a few more in there because they know they have to present to client, and how they want to do that is up to them. So, you know, I think that you should be penciling, like, I think you should be penciling 3 people for a role, but that means that's not necessarily always my decision. It might be more than that. And sometimes you might be looking at 5 or 6, you know. I think, you know, in the licensing thing as well, of course, you don't always have the time. So you begin to license when a child hasn't even been confirmed, because of course, you're not going to have the time to just pick that one by the time they've done the PPM, etc. So sometimes it is a bit of a process of chasing your tail and just trying to keep up with everything. Yeah, but how many? I mean, maybe 4 or 5 kids get penciled for a role.
I agree with Thomas. It depends on their age. I mean, you know, the backup thing. I did have a child fall over the day before a shoot on the gravel playground and scrape their whole face all the way down. So obviously the backup was used the next day. So the backup's not always just because of on shooting. You know, it could be that something's happened to the other child. You know, you don't know.
Yeah.
But interestingly, the license questions. I know there is a question about licensing. I feel it's very unfair. Licenses are issued by the local education authority for that child. Different boroughs have different amounts of staff working in those departments. I know one borough has a lady who works 3 days a week, whereas if you wanted to get a licence, if you lived in Surrey, they've got a team of 7 or 8 down there. They can issue a licence over 24 hours.
Yeah.
You know, some boroughs, their departments shut down over the holidays and things, and it does seem an unfair situation. I know for years they've been campaigning to get a central body to do the licenses, so everybody's working under the same banner, and all children get the same fair chance. Because it does seem very unfair that you book someone just because you can get a license within 2 days for them, whereas the actual fact is there was a better child for that, but they can't get a license for 7 days. So,
and really the irony is that any kid can get an international license to get abroad to go and do a job, and it's 7 days or whatever, is 10 days for everybody. So it's the same block of time because it's done in one court, and so that, you know, that has nothing to do with the local authority.
I've heard rumours from some of the kids agents that they are getting together and trying to get this central body for licensing.
I think they should have a good
idea. And a streamlined process as well, an online simple process where kids already have, you know, relevant documents uploaded and stuff like that. It could be it's so archaic, the process. I think it really does need updating.
Well, wasn't it brought in because of children in the circuses and up the chimneys? We don't have that anymore,
that's
do we?
Crazy.
I'm hoping they can update it.
I reckon they can update it. I reckon we're okay. But I mean, it seems like kids in London as well seem to suffer the most because traditionally London boroughs are the ones that take the longest to license. So you nearly always end up looking for kids outside of London.
Yeah.
If you're you know, working in advertising and you've got, you know, 48 hours to license somebody,
There's a little location question here. It says, I'm with a good northern agency because my dream is to be in one of the northern soaps. This is from a little girl. But I live in the East Midlands. I see girls my age, similar to me, being cast. I never get called in for castings, even though my mum would be happy to cover the travel cost. Is it because of my location? Am I wasting my time hoping to cast one day, living 2 hours away? I would actually move if I was lucky enough to get the main role.
Oh,
no, gosh. It shouldn't make any difference where you live, because really you're doing things with a lot of self-tapes and things like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be done by, I think in the future, this brings us on to this whole self-taping and COVID-19. You know, it's going to be a different way of casting soon, isn't it?
It shouldn't make a difference where you live. But as you've just mentioned, Emma, sustainability and moving forward in the industry in these times, these unprecedented times we're all trying different platforms like Zoom, we audition, Hustler, is it? Hustle. So there's all these different platforms we're trying. I've had conversations recently with Equity and Spotlight, who are really championing for us to all go green. And they're quite right, they are. So if we can see people via a self-tape or via video link to start with, then I think that's a really good way for people who don't live in London or, you know, can't get to the studio. If we can see a self-tape from them or audition them live and then pass that on to the director, then the director's going to give us feedback and, sorry, hold on, dog. The director will give us feedback and then we could get the, you know, ask the child to come in then. So it's only one trip, say from Birmingham to London rather than 2 trips, or, you know, location shouldn't make a difference because of the technology we have now.
Well, I think you're right, though. I think it's going to change drastically with the COVID thing anyway, because we're probably, and the environmental. So it'll be like casting by self-tape, perhaps very much at the beginning, and then they can travel down for the recall or something like that. And at least then it's better for kids that way, because you're probably whittled down to only 3 or 4 or maybe 5, you know, who are actually being seen physically. And that wouldn't matter if you perhaps live far away, because you think it was worth the train ticket and the effort. I think it's quite
if there's already been a
pre-casting
as such, they've been shortlisted down.
Yeah.
Because train fares are expensive, right? And of course we are trying to have, you know, be aware of our carbon footprints and stuff. And
also it's after school. I mean, after school is a tough time to characters to be alert and be on a casting, I think, for some kids. And you try not to make it go later than 8 o'clock. I mean, I don't, it's like horrible, unless it's a Friday, perhaps, you know, might wangle that. But, you know, so we've only really got a very short amount of time to cast them, haven't we, after school? And so to be able to do it, perhaps a little introduction self-tape, and then come in, and they could probably prepare a bit better, maybe even do it on a weekend if necessary.
I mean, I must admit, I do try and do kids casting on a Saturday if time allows it. I mean, no, I don't want to work on a Saturday, but if I've got fresh kids that are not tired after school, not grumpy and paying attention.
Probably cheaper fares as well, weren't they, on a Saturday maybe?
Well, you can start a bit later, you don't have to start, you know, in the morning early, and it gives you a bit more breathing space.
Yeah.
But as we all know, that's not always possible with the deadlines that we have.
No, but it's nice if you can do that, and it's always great to be able to consider how, like you said, Emma, kids are tired after school. You know, to then do a couple of hours on the train and then sit in a waiting room for a casting and then do it. I mean, how can you? If you can enable them to give a better performance and be generally happier and cheerier with it, well, that's great, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, they do come in from Wales after school, and they're coming in from Manchester. You know, and good on them. You know, we admire and dedication, and we're very pleased that you do, because otherwise, you know, we want the best people coming to the casting, don't we? So it is a good thing, but I think there's scope to help out a bit. Maybe this COVID thing's actually a good thing for kids castings. It's kind of changed people's approach for the better.
Absolutely. I think everything needs a shake up every now and again, and we need to take some positives out of this. And if we can reduce our carbon footprint and we can reduce people's travel time and the money they're paying, then that only can be a good thing.
Yeah, I think in general, in our industry and every industry really, everyone knows now that virtual meetings, this sort of thing, works. It doesn't mean people are sat at home doing nothing, right? I mean, self-tapes were so important in our industry before COVID-19. They were so prevalent, but certainly, I mean, there can't be any actor now who hasn't done a self-tape, right? You know, or learning how to use the equipment.
Yeah. Even a little
Well, probably the kids are better at self-tape than
Yeah,
the rest
well,
of
exactly.
us.
Yeah, they're teaching the parents.
Amazing self-tapes done by kids, you know, where they're on a bicycle, jump into a swimming pool, get out of a swimming pool, go on a diving board, you know, do a cartwheel. They can't do that in a studio, can you? But you can do it in, you know, someone's garden.
Mhm.
It's quite good. Right, well, this brings us pretty much to the end, actually. Got one last question, which is, any tips for kids just starting out? So, you know, young little lasses and lads who want to step on the boards.
I would say get some acting experience. It's important. You know, if you do want to be an actress or an actor, Saturday classes are good, you know, just to give you an idea of what's expected. And I think, you know, like we've just discussed, a nice natural headshot, get a good agent, as in a reputable agent. You know, I know that there's many agents out there, you shouldn't be charged to go onto anyone's books and things like that. So good headshots, a nice little video clip that you can send to the agents. Generally, we try and use agents rather than kids without agents, unless we're doing a street casting, whereas in effect it will be out on our social media and we're happy to see all children. Thomas, have you got something to add? I'm running out of ideas here.
I mean, I think that kind of covers it. But yeah, if kids feel like it's something they want to do, then they kind of need to immerse themselves in it. So that's, drama clubs, workshops, you know, getting in the school play, doing as much, you know, getting as much experience as you know, as they can, really. That doesn't necessarily mean professional, because that's harder to come by, but certainly anything in their local areas that's easy to get involved in, plays and workshops stuff, then do it.
Yeah, and also audition experience, maybe join a little model agency or a bigger model agency, because, you know, modelling for kids is probably a little bit more frequent, perhaps, you never know. So you at least get to be in the, you know, outside of me, you know, get into a casting and meet casting directors. So little model agencies are quite good for kick-starting that, perhaps. And like you say, don't pay anything to the agency. There's no need.
They take commission from you, if my memory serves me correctly, not the other way around. So
you don't.
And there's lots of fantastic kids agencies up and down the country. So it's worth parents doing their research and looking into them. And finding out when they're taking on new kids and what their application process is and stuff. It's always good to know.
Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, well, that was wonderful. We've actually finished. We did all the questions. I'm really pleased we actually answered everybody's questions, because they did actually send those in via Twitter and to publicity. So that's brilliant. All right. So until the next time, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
You're very
welcome.
Bye.
Nice
to meet you. Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.